All right, NBC News political reporter Megan Leibowitz joins me now with more on this. All right, Meg, good morning to you. This was the president's first domestic event addressing voters since July. He seemed to go back and forth on whether or not affordability is really an issue. This was, remember, the #1 concern for people who voted for him in 2024. So is the president losing his support when it comes to the economy?
Hey, Emily, good morning. Yeah, that's a great question. So it depends on who you ask, but an NBC News poll from October had found that about 2/3 of voters thought that the Trump administration had fallen short on issues like addressing inflation and the cost of living. Now, as you mentioned, the economy is consistently a top issue for voters. So our colleague Garrett Hake was on the ground in the town where President Trump was speaking last night, and he spoke to voters to hear what they had to say about how the president is talking about the economy. Take a listen to what they had to say.
Described the economy. He said it was an A-plus economy. What do you make of that?
Well, I think if you have the kind of money that he has in his life, he probably thinks it is. I think for those who are really in need, it certainly is not.
If the election were tomorrow, would you vote for him again?
No.
Because of his affordability?
Right. Yeah.
You could tell him about this. What would you tell him?
I wouldn't talk to him.
Do you think he's paying enough attention to the economy?
Honestly, I would say no. I think he's stretched himself out a little bit.
He's a little too thin?
Yeah, he's into everything.
Now, Emily, those last two voters that you heard from had told NBC News that they had voted for President Trump. Now, remember, this is also in Pennsylvania, which is consistently a vital swing state and oftentimes a bellwether for determining in which direction toward which party the country is moving in for the next elections.
Yeah, absolutely. Always interesting to get insight from the Keystone State. Megan, I also want to ask you about another issue impacting people's wallets, student loan debt. Yesterday, the Trump administration announced a deal to end President Biden's student loan repayment program. What does this mean for borrowers? Could this leave millions of people scrambling?
Yeah, so this is called the SAVE plan, and it had actually been at the center of a legal battle. So earlier this year, a judge had sided with a group of Republican-led states that had sued the Education Department during the Biden administration over this plan. So a judge is going to have to ultimately approve this settlement, but the Education Department said that in the coming weeks, it would reach out to borrowers who are on that plan to let them know how they can go about repaying those loans here. So also notably, as you mentioned, there are a whole lot of people who could potentially be impacted by this. The Education Department said that there are 7 million people who are on this plan, and as part of these settlement terms, if they're ultimately approved by the judge, the Education Department won't be allowed to enroll new borrowers in the program. They're going to have to deny pending applications, and they're going to have to move people who are on this program onto another repayment program.
Well, certainly a lot of eyes will be following that one. Meg, before I let you go, I want to talk about a new tourism proposal. The Trump administration says they plan to require all foreign tourists to provide their social media histories when trying to enter the country. How unprecedented is this? And are there any concerns when it comes to privacy, free speech?
Yeah, so it's a pretty unusual move, but it also is in line with other moves that the administration has made in recent months targeting social media. So, for example, back in June, the State Department had said that it would require people who are applying for certain types of visas to make their social media public. Now, that move had generated a whole lot of controversy. I want to read you a little bit about what an advocacy group had to say about that at the time. It's called the Electronic Frontier Foundation, and they called it, quote, a dangerous push to surveil and suppress foreign students' social media activity. So what happens next in this case is that there's going to be a 60-day public comment period where people can weigh in on this proposal. Something I also wanted to note is that this could potentially have a big impact next year as well. That's because the U.S. is going to be hosting FIFA World Cup events, and that's when there are going to be a whole lot of international tourists coming here.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point there. Megan Leibowitz, thanks so much.